What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different and working on the S2000. So I got something in the mail. It's a new part. Came in this JDM box. And if you notice, this is China. So what we got is this eBay air intake snorkel. The reason I bought this is because there was a eBay store-wide sale where it was like 15% off. And I've always had my eye on one of these because it looks pretty cool, and then I think it should do something as far as performance, because all it really does is channel air from the outside of the car to the air intake, and I'll show you why I think this would make a difference. Now in this video I'm actually going to measure the air intake temperature and the ambient air temperature, so that should give us a good idea if it works. Most air intakes are pretty objective whether they work or not, and a lot of people will argue online. I can't prove if it improves the horsepower or torque because I don't have a dyno, but I'm at least going to be able to measure the air intake temperature relative to the ambient air temperature. So with that said, let's take a look at the stock S2000 air intake and why I think this would be an improvement. So here we have the stock S2000 intake. I haven't changed anything, so I'll show you why I don't plan on changing this to like an AEM or anything. So the first reason is, as you guys can see, it's very big already, and then it's also made of plastic, and that helps dissipate the heat from the engine bay. Honda's put a lot of thought into this motor, and making 240 horsepower from a 2-liter is already a lot of power, and it's really hard to gain any extra, especially with just like putting a pod filter on the end of there. It's pretty questionable. So this is what the intake looks like on the inside. So anyone that hasn't seen this, this is what the intake looks like on the inside of the airbox on an OEM S2000. Now if you notice, this looks a lot like an aftermarket intake. So that's why I don't think it's really necessary to buy a new one, especially one that's not enclosed like this. So essentially what we're going to be doing is, since the air OEM goes through here from in the engine bay, the new scoop intake is going to go down here, and then air is going to come in through here. And in theory it should be colder, so that's what we're gonna find out today. Alright, so we're here at the side of the road, and I took the air temperature. Right now it's around 60 degrees, and we're just here at idle, and the air intake temperature is 116 degrees Fahrenheit, just at idle here. So I'm gonna put this on here so I can film myself driving and I can talk. We're at 118 degrees. What we're gonna do now is I'm gonna go drive, and I'll just read off the air intake temperature at different miles per hour. So we're gonna take it up to 35, and we're down to 109, 111, almost the same at idle. So we'll bring it up a notch when we get an opening here. 45 miles per hour is 109, 107. So we're at 55 miles per hour, still 111. Turn around here. So it went up to 120 just turning around there. So 35 miles an hour, 109 again, 35, 109, 55, 109. So it looks like we're about at 109 degrees, 108 degrees at the air intake temperature with the stock intake. So I think that's a good reading of what the general air intake temperatures are, with outside being around 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's what we'll have for the OEM air intake. Now let's put on the aftermarket Snorkel and see what difference it makes, if any. Alright, so back in the garage, we're going to go remove the front bumper so that I can install the intake. So that's going to mean I take off all this stuff, these bolts, and then there are some nuts underneath and stuff, and then there's some on the side here. I've done it before. There's other tutorials on YouTube, so I'm not going to do that. So we're going to remove the bumper, and I'll catch up with you guys then when it's off. So here's where we are. I had to remove the under tray so that I could finagle the intake up in there. I put tape to protect it, which probably didn't really work. You have to remove the AC cover thing that goes here. You'll see that it goes like this. Basically, you have to remove that. So that's off. The under tray is off, so I could swing it up through here. And then I had to rip the little cone thing here out. And now the only problem is this thing, and I found out my air intake is busted. So now I'm gonna have to run to O'Reilly. That's like a half hour away, and get a new air intake so that we can continue with this today. So that's what I'm gonna do now, and I will be back here in an hour, which will probably be like 2 seconds for you guys. Back in the garage, picked up this, the Doge. Picked up the last K&N air filter in the state. Got it from O'Reilly, and yeah, so we're gonna be using this new K&N filter instead of this crappy one that looks like it's split and let in a bunch of shit. So that's on, all secured. It fits really nice and should be good. So the way this mounts up actually is it just sits here. You can feel it just fits flush with everything. So that just sits there. We'll put the cover on, and then it has a little notch for the bumper, and we should be good to go. Tube snug, tapes out. There you go. So it's installed and doesn't move anymore. So leave that tape on for now, and I'll put the bumper and under tray and everything back on. So we got the tray back on, and I'm just gonna show you guys where the intake goes. So here it is, going into the airbox, goes here, and comes down here, which is where the bumper will be. As you guys can maybe see, it lines up perfectly with the grill. So here it is, and it perfectly fits with the grill. And now I'm just gonna take this tape off, and we'll give it a go where we were before. So yeah, so that's what it looks like. There, folks, see if you can hear it. Alright, so we're here again, now with the new intake installed. We'll put this here. So it's 58.4 right now outside, and 109 at idle. Now that we're moving, the air intake temperature is dropping fast. We're at 98. Before there wasn't a big change right when we start moving. So let's go back to, drop it back to 35. So 35 miles an hour, 102, 100. We're at 98 at 45. Get up to 55. 96 at 55. 60. We're at 93 at 60. So that's pretty low. It's a big difference from moving and not moving. Let's turn around. So overall, I think it is making a difference. It is colder outside, but we're gonna take the ratio. But what I'm noticing right now, though, is there's a big difference as soon as we move. I think it gets cooler too as you open up the throttle, because you're filling the air intake temperature sensor up with whatever air is there, or you're cycling more air through, and it's not just idling in the air box. Yeah, so we got it down to 89, up to like 7,000 RPM. So it's definitely sucking in colder air. So I don't know how you guys want to conclude with that result. I think it was a good buy. There definitely seems to be a difference here, especially when we start to get moving. As far as engine performance, I can't tell if it has any more power, but if the air intake temperatures are lower relatively to the OEM, I would call it an upgrade. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the buy. I would suggest to buy it, I guess. The fit and finish and installing it was pretty straightforward and went pretty easy, besides that my air intake the actual filter was ruined. So overall, I would say it's a good buy. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So I'll see you guys in the next one. And in the next video, I'm not sure what I'll do in the next video, but the S2000 is getting some upgrades, and I hope to get a podium with the car. So let's see if I can do that. And anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Because we took the temperature readings of the air intake at different temperatures, I thought I would do a quick ratio math just to get a better idea of what the temperature should have been. So this is the OEM air intake, when we were at 55 at 60 degrees ambient, it was 111 degrees for air intake temperature, and I want to get what the air intake temperature hypothetically would have been at 58, which is when I tested the new intake. So if you solve for X, you would get 107 for OEM, and the actual reading of the intake with the scoop was 96. So overall, that's a pretty good difference, I think, just with this crappy math. That's really quick, but I was reading off the temperatures and you guys knew that the difference is pretty significant. And if we take the ratio here with the math, it shows that there is actually a difference. Again, this is really rough, but it should give you a better idea than nothing. So overall, I think it's a good buy and something I would consider, or I did consider, but maybe you should consider. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.